of June 11, 2012. Mr. Spagno, would you please call the roll?
Allen.
Here.
Dixon. Gibbons.
Here.
Hannon.
Present.
Harrison.
Present.
McLean.
Here.
Maury.
Here.
O'Brien.
Present.
Pate.
Here.
8 present.
We have 8 members present. At this time, I'd like to introduce Boy Scout Troop number 215, Tiger Scouts. They're going to do the flag ceremony this evening.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to turn to chair announcements. An executive session of council was conducted tonight before we came to the floor, June 11, 2012, to discuss personnel issues. This time, I'd like to turn the reports to the officials and the librarian's report.
Good evening. My name is Christine. I am the director of Your Public Library, where we provide services to inform, inspire, and enrich the community. I just have a few things tonight, and of course, as always, fundraising is one of them. Recently, the library held its annual fundraising gala at the community center. We had over 100 people in attendance. It was a Monte Carlo night, so we had table games, but we also had a lot of raffles, and one special raffle was a hand-knitted blanket. Most of you probably do not know that there's groups that regularly meet in the library. One of them is a knitters group. It's our Wednesday evening knitters group. Each of the members of that group knitted about a 12-inch square. Then they, together on a Wednesday evening, knitted it together and donated it to the library for us to raffle off. And we did get a $46 bid on that blanket. So I just wanted to say thank you to the Wednesday evening knitters group. Currently, we have the Christmas in July daily raffle going on. That you get one ticket. It has a 3-digit number on it. You have 31 chances to win. The number is based on the Pennsylvania daily 3-digit number drawn at 7 o'clock. And our large prize will be, of course, in keeping with the theme of Christmas in July, will be on July 25th. That's a $500 prize. But daily prizes range from $50 up to $250. The tickets are available in the library for $10. And it is summer. Well, almost. Kids aren't quite out of school yet. But summer reading program, I just want to remind you, we have summer reading program for children who are not yet reading, through school-age children, and for teens, and then also for adults. The kids have the advantage in that the library staff, the youth services staff, does go out to the schools to talk about it. But I just want to take a minute to remind adults that are watching or are here that there is a summer reading program for you. There's really no requirement other than that you read or listen to a book. For every book that you read or listen to, you can submit an entry into our fishbowl that does not contain our fish. And we do weekly drawings for $25 gift cards, anything from Dick's to a BP gas card. But our big prize this year is a telescope, because the theme this year is Own the Night or something about dreams. They're different for each age group. And also, too, if you can't make it to the library, I just want to remind people that the library does provide homebound delivery service. You don't have to be permanently homebound, although we do deliver to several of the senior care facilities in the municipality. But if you just had a baby, or you had surgery, or you happen to break your foot or your leg and you can't make it to the library for 6-8 weeks, but you want to receive library materials, you can call us and we will arrange to have one of our staff members or a volunteer bring you materials and pick them up when they are due. And just one more thing, for those of you who do not know, the library maintains the garden out in the courtyard. We do this initially with funds through the Martha Lowry Memorial Fund. She was an avid gardener, and donations were given. This was probably 10 years ago. And we have recently, last year, planted some new things out there, some perennials. This year, with the lovely donation from Lowe's that came to the municipality, we did add some annuals out there, and we're very grateful. There is seating out there, an umbrella, so it's a nice place to sit if you are here at the library and need a break or want some sunshine. So please come by and see our garden. For more information on these or any of the other programs and services that the library offers, you can visit our wonderful website at bethelparklibrary.org. And the fish are doing wonderful.
That's great.
So, thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, turn to the police chief's report. And Lieutenant Rogan.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lieutenant Dave Rogan. I only have 2 items on our police chief report tonight. One is we wanted to let everyone know that we recently hosted a hybrid electric vehicle safety course for first responders for police, fire, and EMS. This was hosted by the Bethel Park Police Department. And we wanted to thank some of the people who helped us in sponsoring this and putting this together, and that would be Sun Chevrolet and Rorick Toyota, Wolson Lynn Ford. They all provided resources for this course, as well as we wanted to make sure that we thank the Brightwood Fire Department station, because we used their facility and they were very gracious in that regard. And we wanted to also thank Channel 7 television producer Dave Cable, who was in attendance, and he videotaped the training session so that we would have this, that we could provide this for other first responders who were not able to make the class. So we wanted to thank all those people. It was a very successful class, and everyone thought it was very informative. The second thing that I have tonight, we wanted to announce that we have a Sergeant Charles Bonzak through the Bethel Park Police Department college scholarships. And we have 10 awardees this year. Each of these awardees are going to receive a $500 scholarship to attend educational facilities. And I just wanted to announce their names and where they're going to attend. And the 10 people that were selected are Asia Jane Buckley, who is attending Duquesne University; Alex Drozd, who's attending Penn State University; Jennifer Duff, who's attending Duquesne University; William Franciscus, who is undecided what his plans are; Sarah Holly, who's going to the University of Michigan in Dearborn; Abigail Kroll, the Bradford School; Catherine Kroll, the Community College of Allegheny County; Rebecca Kroll, Bradford School; Luke McCurry, Gettysburg College; and finally Maxwell Stottisbury, who's attending Community College of Allegheny County. Each of those graduating high school students and Bethel Park residents will receive a $500 scholarship from the Charles Bonzak Police Department Scholarship. And all the proceeds for this scholarship came from the Police Pal Pittsburgh Steelers basketball game that we sponsored, and also from generous donations from people in the community who cared about trying to keep Sergeant Bonzak's memory alive. He was an important part of our department. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This time we turn to the fire chief's report.
Good evening. I'm 3rd Lieutenant Tom Kelton. Just want to go over last month's incidents. The month of May, we had 15 false alarm and false calls, 3 good intent calls, 2 rescue calls, and 1 service call, which is a total of 21 calls for the month, which is a little bit down from April, but being summer now, hot temperatures will probably start going up again. I want to thank everybody that helped out on June 1st at our big fire we had, especially the police and medics. We were there pretty much the most of the day in order to get that fire out. And preliminary reports say it started as a kitchen fire, and we'll be still investigating that with the county fire marshals to determine the exact cause. We want to thank everybody that helped at our Fill the Boots. We were down at the South Park intersection by South Park Shops on a Sunday morning, I believe it was. We were there for a couple hours, and we were able to raise a couple $1,000s from everybody driving through. So we want to thank everybody very much for that. With that, our second mailing is going out this week to remind people who may have forgotten to donate the first mailing that went out. So when you get that donation letter in the mail, please remember to send that in with your donation. It's a big effort of ours to raise the money in order to provide the services that we do for the community. So, any questions?
Any questions from council? No, I'd just like to follow up, encourage everybody to donate. At this point, none of the operating funds come from the municipality. It's all done through donations. So I'd encourage, if you haven't donated, I would encourage you to do it now. And also, we also have our EMS subscription drive, that if you aren't a participant, I'd ask you to do that also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Murray?
Mr. Harrison.
Thank you. I promised the fire company when we met with them that I'd remind people to make contributions, and you were taking care of that, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. At this time, we'll turn to the mayor's report, and Mayor Morton.
Good evening, everyone. Our report tonight will be quite brief. First of all, thank you, Scouts, for what you did for us tonight, and thank you for coming out. And hope you go home being able to explain a little bit more about what you learned at the council meeting. Every month, we recognize those people who are 90 years old or older that we have found. I'm sure we don't get them all, but we try to. And then we read their birthdays and go from there. Reed McGibney, a name that many of us will remember for a long time because he's been around here a while, used to be on council, is going to be 93 years old this month. We wish him a very happy birthday. Viola Pulaski, 95 years old this year, or this month rather. Happy birthday to her. Curtis Campbell. Seems like Curtis has been around a long time too, only 104 years. So Curtis is still very active. He only gave up golf 2 years ago. So there's hope, guys. And Elizabeth Aker, A-K-E-R, 106 years old this month as well. Happy birthday to them. Reed McGibney's sister, Dorothy, is no longer living in Bethel Park, but she lived here for 63 years, and she's living elsewhere now with some family, and she will be 100 years old this month also. Some good genes in that McGibney group, I think. The only other thing I have, Mr. Chairman, is the annual report that we're required to do, or should be doing every year. I don't always do it, but I'm going to do it over here so I'll have my hand free. Except for what seems a multitude of road and street detours, we talked about this in the back room a little bit, one-way onlys, street closings, and flag persons that I feel some of them I'm getting a personal relationship with. And except for many developmental sites which have gotten started but can't seem to get finished, and except for this year's budget process, which turned into a hayrube, Bethel Park actually with all this is still in pretty good shape. Now many of our residents, and I understand this, are frustrated with this, but so is the staff over some of these issues, so is the council, and I think the mayor is also. I would appeal to everyone, to take a deep breath when you feel some frustration coming on. Look to the future when all this is behind us and Bethel Park is once again peaceful and quiet, but still with problems. A few years ago, I was at a conference when the featured speaker spoke to this very issue of problems. And his thesis was that human beings are the happiest when they have a problem to solve. Because nature, by man's very nature, he is a problem solver. This speaker challenged the audience by asking for a show of hands for those who had no problems in their life. He further challenged the half dozen or so who raised their hands by explaining to them that everyone has problems, every group has problems. And if one thinks that he or she has none, then they should go home, or they should go to their hotel room and get down on their knees and say, Lord, send me a problem. Please, I need a problem. Well, I don't think we ever really ask for that, but they do come. Pastor Dennis used to be at the Rutherford Lutheran Church years ago, always said, be careful what you pray for. You might get it. So, keeping that in mind, problems will always be with us. The trick is to keep them resolved, or get them resolved, or keep them at least manageable. And I have faith in the people in Bethel Park and this council and this staff that they can and will do just that. We keep our problems minimized, get them done, and move on, which is Tim's favorite expression. We're moving on, right, Mr. Chairman? Anyway, God bless, always bless Bethel Park. We ask for that as well, and that concludes our report for tonight, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Okay, at this time, can we turn to the approval of the minutes, and Mr. Allen?
I move that we approve the regular council meeting minutes of May 14th, 2012.
There's a motion, a second, that we approve the regular council meeting minutes of May 14th, 2012. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Dixon?
Yes.
Gibbons?
Yes.
Hannon?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
McLean?
Yes.
Maury?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Pate?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
9-0.
Motion passes 9-0. At this time, I'd like to turn to the approval of the bills and payrolls, and Mr. Allen.
I move that we approve the bills and payrolls for the municipality per bill list number 061112 in the amount of $644,432.58.
Second.
There's a motion, a second, that we approve the bills and payrolls for the municipality per bill list number 061112 in the amount of $644,423.58. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Gibbons?
Yes.
Hannon?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
McLean?
Yes.
Maury?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Pate?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
9-0.
Motion passes 9-0. At this time, I'd like to turn to the resident comment section for non-agenda items. If you'd like to come to the microphone and state your name and address, and we do have a 3-minute limit. Okay, hearing none, I'd like to turn to general policy and finance and Mr. Hannon, and we have no residents signed up to speak.
We have 3 items under General Policy and Finance, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Hannon.
First item is an appointment to the Cable TV Board. I move that we appoint Peter J. Mazzarini to the Cable TV Board for a term to expire on December 31st, 2015.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we appoint Peter J. Mazzarini to the Cable TV Board for a term to expire on December 31st, 2015. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Hannon?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
McLean?
Yes.
Maury?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Pate?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Gibbons?
Yes.
9-0.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Hannon.
Next item is appointment to the Cable TV Board. Move that we appoint Pauletta Beeler to the Cable TV Board for a term to expire on December 31st, 2015.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we appoint Pauletta Beeler to the Cable TV Board for a term to expire on December 31st, 2015. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Harrison?
Yes.
McLean?
Yes.
Maury?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Pate?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Gibbons?
Yes.
Hannon?
Yes.
9-0.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Hannon.
Third item is an appointment to the Zoning Hearing Board as an alternate member. I move that we appoint Carol Stewart to the Zoning Hearing Board as an alternate member for a term to expire on December 31st, 2014.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. We appoint Carol Stewart to the Zoning Hearing Board as an alternate member for a term to expire on December 31st, 2014. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
McLean?
Yes.
Maury?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Pate?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Gibbons?
Yes.
Hannon?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Hannon.
We have no further agenda items under General Policy and Finance, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hannon. Are there
Mr.
any
Murray.
additional items? Mr. Harrison.
I have 3 items that I'd like to bring up. One of them sort of a personal item. At the dais at the last month's meeting, I had my little short black pop-up umbrella. It's certainly replaceable, but it traveled around the European continent and England with me. So we had sort of a personal relationship. So if anybody that sees this found an umbrella, they don't know who the owner is, it's likely mine. Like I say, it's replaceable, but it's something I've had for many, many years. The second item is that we have our Veterans Memorial out here, and for what I'll call the young codger, since I'm an old codger. In World War II, there were female auxiliary people called WACs, and there were female auxiliary people in the Navy called WAVES. We have a WAVE whose name is on the plaque out here, but the name is incorrect. So I told her that I would make it a matter of record, and I'm sure that we'll get that corrected the next time there's adjustments made to the name is Rita McGill. That's on the first plaque out here. So I checked it just to make sure. She told me, and I checked, and sure enough, there's a problem. The third thing I want to speak to is that at the last meeting, I introduced my project, so to speak, in behalf of many, many citizens, which I called Clamp Down. Clamp means counsel lied and misled public, and down means don't overlook wasteful niceties. And that's because many people, including myself, including the petition committee, felt that council and the staff had indicated that there were sufficient monies in the budget so that we didn't need a real estate tax increase. And lo and behold, what did council do? They passed an increase in the real estate tax. I quizzed the solicitor about this item, and I'll say in Mr. McTiernan's behalf, he usually gives pretty brisk opinions, and maybe it's my hearing impairment, but I sit here and it seemed to me he gave a repetitive statement about 3 times, which I admit I simply didn't understand. But the bottom line was that he passed the opinion that if the present petition committee were successful in getting a number of signatures to overturn the February ordinance for 11.5% increase in real estate taxes, then we would revert back to the November ordinance, which is 34.4%. I allege that Mr. McTiernan didn't make that legal determination on the spot. I got much reason to believe that he had communicated that to whoever, the staff, to council members, whatever. So, certainly not this council member. And I can say that sitting here at this moment, I've never seen that opinion in writing. And I think that's important. That's an important decision. It's important because it affects not only the activity of the petition committee, who incidentally filed an affidavit with the manager in accordance with the Home Rule Charter, which the manager acknowledged receiving by his signature. And it not only affects the petition committee, but it affects all those people out there that were seeking signatures, plus all the people who pay real estate taxes in Bethel Park. And I think that if our solicitor rendered that opinion to this municipality, then we have a responsibility to make sure the citizens know about it, because I guarantee you, the contacts I've had, that everybody lost interest in signing the petition when they said if the petition committee is successful, then they're going to have to pay 34.4 instead of 11.5%. As I say, so it's important to not only the council members, important to me, and I'd never been informed of that until I quizzed Mr. McTiernan on the floor, and it was important to the petition committee and the citizens and the taxpayers. I contend that not informing these groups of people, elected representatives, and I don't know who else knew about it, petition committee, the people who circulate petitions in the public in general, I claim that was devious and irresponsible. I think to let people think that if they signed a petition and got adequate signatures that were turned in, that would do away with the increase, and then lo and behold find out that our legal arm there said, oh, no. What would happen if we'd go back to 34.4? So what I did was embellish my campaign. In addition to the clamp down, I've come up with the detour. Now, detour means don't ever trust our untruthful representatives. And everyone knows that detours are caused by roadblocks. The mayor just spoke about detours here tonight. I didn't know he was going to do that. I contend that the roadblocks, in this case, causing the people to get an increase in real estate taxes, an unnecessary increase in real estate taxes, the roadblocks are sitting right here in this dais. And I'll just remind you that seats for wards 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 will be on the ballot in 213. This provides the public an opportunity to speak to these issues. Don't miss the chance to have your voice heard. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. Dixon.
just a quick comment, more of an observation than anything. Over the last year or two, we have seen, I think, an increasing paranoid assault on virtually every member of council, just about every member of staff, the mayor, and now our solicitor, Mr. McTiernan. So Mr. Harrison has literally gone after every single person but himself. So I would just like to say, Mr. McTiernan, welcome to the club. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. O'Brien.
I'd like to ask a question based on timeline. I think that the time has come and the clock has run out. And after filing the affidavit, there's a certain amount of time before an act. Am I correct on my math, Mr. Manager or Mr. McTiernan or somebody?
I'll answer yes.
Okay, Mr. McTiernan.
The only person I've talked to about this is the manager.
Yeah,
And the
yes.
count from the day the affidavit was filed, obviously it was filed with the manager, the 60th day was on Saturday.
The 9th.
I'm sorry,
Yes, the 9th.
the 9th, right, Saturday the 9th. And it was my opinion that under Pennsylvania law, the last day could not be on a Saturday. So today would be, up to the end of business today would be the last day for the filing.
And that is at 4:30, end of business today.
Yes.
Okay.
And as I said, I do consult with the manager regularly on these things. I don't give opinions to council unless they ask, as Mr. Harrison did at the last meeting. But I, of course, talk to Mr. Spagnol all the time.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. McTiernan. As a quote from our mayor and Mr. Murray, it's time to move on. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien.
Hey, Mr. Murray.
Mr. Pape and Mr. Harrison.
Okay.
I think it's about time we put this show on the road. Mr. Harrison was a member of the Home Rule Charter, and he voted to balance the budget November 15th. Your income tax is December 31st, any other business December 31st. So when he did this, October you couldn't count what you get in, November you couldn't count what you get in, and December you couldn't count what you get in. That's why the money came in. We wouldn't even be talking about this subject if that man over there wouldn't have voted for it. And he knows it, and I hope he denies it. Just had enough.
Thank you, Mr. Pape. Mr. Harrison.
I just want to mention that the great hair fellow down there that's first spoke, I refer to him as Dr. Dixon. I appreciate his polite comment tonight, but I assume that he has a expertise in other than moving furniture, because at a recent meeting, he psychoanalyzed me, suggesting that I was acting in a deviant way and so on and so forth. So I now refer to him as Dr. Dixon because I assume he must have the tickets to make such pronouncement from the public dais. Thank you very much.
Mr. Murray,
Mr. Peck?
I could answer that, but believe me, I don't want to put myself on the same level as that man. That man has had it. I tell you, this has been going on for months and years. People out there say, what's the man talking about? They don't even know what he's talking about. He just rumbles and mumbles, jumbo. That's all he does. I don't understand the man. I think you should get on with your life, Mr. Harrison.
Mr. President,
Thank you. Mr. Dixon?
just a quick reply.
Dr. Dixon?
Yeah, please call me doctor.
Okay, sir.
I don't know if I psychoanalyzed anybody, but I will say that one needn't be a piano tuner to know when the piano is out of tune. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to pass on comments. Is there any other discussion from council? I would like to welcome Mr. McTiernan into the club. At this time, can we turn to planning and zoning? We have 2 people signed up to speak. If you'd like to come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, we have a 3-minute limit. At the end of 2 minutes, would ask you to conclude your comments. And this is on, I'm assuming, application number 2012-0237, Presidential Plaza Retail Edition Major Land Development.
Yes, good evening, council members. Kim Gales Dunn from J.R. Gales and Associates, representing Ross Development Company, who is beside the proposed development. We have 2 concerns. The first one being the stormwater detention system will discharge into our existing detention system, which is privately owned. Also, the storm sewer system is privately owned. And secondly, of the design of the wall that will be adjacent to our property for the height of the wall and the visibility that it will do to our building.
Okay, thank you. Steve?
My name is Steve Farino. I'm an attorney. I represent 1600 Washington Road Associates. They are the neighboring property. They just wanted me to voice their objection, A, to the height of the wall and the support structure for it. B, they're objecting to any plan in which the stormwater is discharged into their private system, which services their own property, and that any approval for such a plan should be conditioned on an agreement between the 2 owners that they can utilize the private system on their property. If there is an approval that does not have that condition, they are of the belief that that would be a de facto taking of some interest in their property, requiring some defense of a property right which they now have. Thank you.
Thank you. If I can maybe ask Mr. Duke to quickly respond or comment on the stormwater. We had this discussion, I believe, at our committee meeting.
Yes, the application, to give some background to everybody, is this is an application is a 5,000 square foot retail building which is currently on the Presidential Plaza property, which is on Washington Road. For those of you who remember way back when, that's the old Washingtonian site. And it's up from the property containing Trader Joe's. The property sits both in Bethel Park and in Upper St. Clair. The majority of the property is within Bethel Park, mainly the main building that is there now. What they're proposing is to put this new building within the portion that's within Bethel Park and Upper St. Clair. The majority, again, in Bethel Park, so it's being reviewed as part of a Bethel Park plan. The 2 components that they talked about, which is the wall and the stormwater. Currently, the water is being received through a system that is already in place. The water is going into that system right now. Our control is not necessarily in looking at the location of how it's tying in, other if they were going in a different place, but it's also where it's receiving and how it's going into the thing. Any private arrangements must be between the 2 property owners, and we're not enforcing that provision. Second item is the wall that was mentioned. That wall is not in Bethel Park. That wall is in Upper St. Clair. So one of the main conditions of the recommendation and for the approval is that they must also receive Upper St. Clair approval, which the wall is located. We don't have any enforcement. It's not our wall. It's St. Clair's wall. But they have to go get approval from St. Clair for that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mr. Duke, I have just a quick follow-up question. I just want to be very specific about the tie-in to that stormwater system. Is that something that should impact our decision here tonight, or is that simply a civil matter between the two parties?
Well, it's going in there right now. So if there's any issue that should have been resolved or always resolved between the two, ours is representation to us that they're acceptable to do that, and we have no way of enforcing a private matter. If there's a problem with it, then it's going to be an issue between the two of them. So technically, it's not an issue from us, at least our understanding, our viewpoint. They meet our requirements for retaining it, withholding it, and holding it back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to turn to planning and zoning and Mr. Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Mowry. We have 3 items under planning and zoning tonight. The first is application number 2012-0237, Presidential Plaza Retail Edition, Major Land Development. I move that we approve application number 2012-0237, Presidential Plaza Retail Edition, Major Land Development, in accordance with the municipal planner's correspondence dated April 21, 2012.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we approve application number 2012-0237, Presidential Plaza Retail Edition, Major Land Development, in accordance with the municipal planner's correspondence dated April 21st, 2012. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Mowry.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pape.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Dixon. Yes. Gibbons.
Yes.
Hannon.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
McLean.
Yes.
9-0.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Hannon.
Item number B is resolution sewer easement vacation Library Road. I move that we approve the resolution vacating certain sanitary sewer easement located on Library Road.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that we approve the resolution vacating certain sanitary sewer easement located on Library Road. Any discussion on this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pape.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Dixon. Yes. Gibbons.
Yes.
Hannon.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
McLean.
Yes.
Mowry.
Yes.
9-0.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Mowry.
Is that Dr. Dixon?
Resolution is a transfer of property. I move that we approve a resolution of the Council of the Municipality of Bethel Park, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the conveyance of certain property from 88 Investors LP to the Municipality of Bethel Park on the condition that such property be immediately conveyed to the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation in connection with a development along Library Road and Hillside Drive.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the resolution of the Council of the Municipality of Bethel Park, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the conveyance of certain property from 88 Investors LP to the Municipality of Bethel Park on the condition that such property be immediately conveyed to the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation in connection with the development along Library Road and Hillside Drive. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Pape.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Dixon. Yes. Gibbons.
Yes.
Hannon.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
McLean.
Yes.
Mowry.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
9-0.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Dixon.
Those are the only items we had under planning and zoning. However, I do have one additional item.
Mr. Dixon.
Just a note to the residents of Ward 4 and basically for the rest of Bethel Park as well. We had a meeting last Monday night on the 4th of June, right here in this room, where we entertained the residents of Lawrence Drive, Kevin Drive, Locust Drive, and that whole neighborhood in that region. It was all relative to the closing of the intersection of Baptist Road and Broughton Road. As we all know, that's a monumental headache throughout this community. And it has impacted that neighborhood rather seriously and significantly. We've taken some steps to alter the traffic along Broughton Road to help alleviate some of the congestion that was going down into that neighborhood. Those neighbors came up to us with a petition to take into account some of their suggestions. We had a very, very good meeting, very responsive. The residents of the area gave us some great ideas, a lot of great comments. It was a very, very positive evening, and I welcome very, very much the input of the citizens. I sit up here all the time and ask for citizen involvement in this community, and anything from budget items to traffic items, and so this is exactly the kind of input that I love. So we are taking into account all of those suggestions. We're preparing responses. We're looking at what we can do to help you in some of your requests, and we're looking at things that we're not able to do so that we can report that back to you as well. I just wanted to let everybody know that we're working on it. I'd also like to publicly thank my fellow members of council who showed up at that meeting as well. There were a total of 6 council representatives there. The council representatives Allen, Mrs. Gibbons, Mr. Hannon, Mr. Harrison, Mr. Mowry, and myself, total 6 councilmen. That's how seriously this issue is and how serious this council takes its responsibility to address the needs of the residents. I'd like to thank Mr. Harrison, Mr. Spagnell and Mr. Duke, representatives of Municipal Council, the manager and the planner. Also Chief Mackey and Sergeant McLean, who's our traffic sergeant. We also had our traffic engineer there, who's an expert on, obviously, traffic engineering issues, and also PennDOT. So we had everybody there that we could possibly get there, and I thought it was a very positive event, and I'm grateful for everybody's participation.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon. Were there any other discussion from council? Hearing none, can we turn to health, safety, and welfare, and Mr. McLean?
Thank you, Mr. President. We have no items this evening under health, safety, and welfare.
Are there any additional items?
I do have one additional item.
Mr. McLean.
I had the privilege on Memorial Day of being able to participate in the Forgotten Heroes segment of the program, and as a result of that was able to participate in the recognition of Charles Michael Swaim as a resident of Bethel Park who was killed in action in Vietnam. And for those who attended the service that day, you know that members of his family traveled from pretty far to be here that day. And I wanted to thank the municipal staff and members of the Veterans Committee, because for them, I don't think that it's a day that they will ever forget. And I think we looked as good as Bethel Park could look that day for some people who used to live here. But just to share with you briefly 2 notes that I got. One gentleman who was there that day was Jerry Hines, who traveled from Florida and was actually a fellow Marine to Chuck Swaim and was with him when he passed away and was killed in action. And he wrote me a note that said, "A short note of thanks to you and your group for the ceremony honoring Chuck Swaim. You and your group hold my highest esteem for planning and participating in the Memorial Day service for my hero, Chuck Swaim. It was a difficult moment in my life, but with your sincerity and warmth, you made this event a positive memory." I also received a note from one of Chuck Swaim's 2 sisters who were here, his sister Margaret Ann, and she sent me this the day after the Memorial Day service, after she had returned to Philadelphia. She said, "As I was taking my daily walk this morning, reflecting on the weekend activities, I have to let you know that even though it was a memorial service for all veterans, you made it personal, and I felt it was a memorial service just for Chuck. We all thank you and the many others who made our day, even down to meeting Jerry, who was truly a friend of Chuck's. Thanks again to you and the citizens of Bethel Park. It's why I proudly tell everyone that Bethel Park is where I grew up." I thought that's about as fitting a way of recognizing that day than from the words of those people who traveled here and participated and are obviously very grateful. So thank you to the staff, thank you to the Veterans Committee.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. O'Brien.
I'd like to just add on to that. I'd like to thank Jim and his father. The personal touch of the neighborhood from 40 years ago. It's amazing, you know, it doesn't get any better than this. And this is what it's all about. This is what Bethel Park is all about. You couldn't have planned this. You couldn't have created this in Hollywood. You just couldn't do it. The day was magical. The day was spiritual. It was divine intervention. It all came together. And it was a moment that you sat there and you listened and you said, this is a moment in time. We brought a forgotten time to this time. We brought a neighborhood to life, and people were thankful, and people were recognized, and forgotten people were recognized. I just don't really know what else to say. I was really emotionally taken back by the day, and really understanding what this memorial is, why it was created, and what secrets it still has in store for all of us here in Bethel Park is just simply amazing. And I want to thank everybody involved. So many people made it happen. And if you haven't had a chance to watch it through the magic of Dave Cable and BPTV7, I think it would be worth your while to sit down, take your time and watch it and reflect on a day that is a moment in time. Thank you, Jim. And tell your father I said thanks again.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional items? Hearing none, we turn to Public Works and Maintenance. And Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have one item tonight. Liquid chlorine and sulfur dioxide contract. I've been doing this for 20-some years. I move that we award a one-year contract for liquid chlorine and sulfur dioxide at the sewage treatment plant to JCI Jones Chemical, Inc. for the following low bids of liquid chlorine for $374 per ton, sulfur dioxide for $940 per ton, per the Director of Community Services, correspondence dated May 10, 2012.
Second.
There's a motion, a second, that we award a one-year contract for liquid chlorine and sulfur dioxide at the sewage treatment plant to JCI Jones Chemical, Inc. for the following low bids. Liquid chlorine, $374 per ton. Sulfur dioxide, $940 per ton. Per the Director of Community Service, correspondence dated May 10, 2012. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Spagna, would you please call the roll?
Allen?
Yes.
Dixon?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Hannon?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
McLean?
Yes.
Maui?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Pate?
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. O'Brien,
Mr. Chairman, there are no other items, and I do not have any more
are
tonight.
there any additional? Mr. Harris.
I'll put it in the form of a motion. I don't know if it's necessary or not, but I'd like to make a motion that the solicitor be directed to provide his opinion in writing on the tax ordinances.
There's a motion on the floor to have the solicitor put his opinion in writing. Is there a second? Hearing none. I just have one quick comment. I wasn't going to say anything following Dr. Dixon's comments, but I liken this whole tax petition issued to the emergency access road. Every month you hear over and over and over something that isn't true. And the majority of what Mr. Harrison has said tonight is simply not true. I don't need to go through every point, but if anybody that watches the meetings understands, we may disagree. I respect his opinion, but he's not entitled to change the facts. I think we've done our due diligence. I think, once again, Mr. Harrison wants to spend money. I read the Home Rule Charter. He's the self-proclaimed author. I knew what it said. And because now everything's over, they didn't get the signatures, now he's crying foul yet again. So it's just another way to continue to spend money without creating or providing any solutions to any of the issues that he does have. So it's purely political, as I said in the article. It's time for all of us to move on. Thank you.
Have a motion to adjourn?
Move adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Hi, I'm John Bauer, and I'm here to talk about sudden cardiac arrest. Heart disease, including sudden cardiac arrest, is the nation's #1 killer. Sudden cardiac arrest happens when the heart suddenly stops beating. This may be from a heart attack or a number of other causes. Whatever the cause, without immediate action, the sufferer will die. You can take action against sudden cardiac arrest. If you see someone suddenly collapse and it looks like they aren't breathing normally, you need to act immediately. First call 911 or your local emergency number. Then start immediate chest compressions. Place your hands in the middle of the chest and begin to push forcefully and rapidly, at least 100 times a minute. If anyone else is nearby, have them relieve you after 2 minutes. Keep taking turns. If you're in a public place, ask someone to get an AED. When it arrives, open it up and follow the voice instructions. Don't stop chest compressions until the AED tells you to. Keep going until rescuers arrive. Sudden cardiac arrest is survivable if immediate action is taken. You can make a difference. To learn more or to learn CPR, contact Tri-Community South EMS at 412-831-3710. Be a lifesaver. Learn CPR.
Hey, you ready?
Of course I am.
What are you waiting for?
I was waiting for you. So we're gonna continue the puppy thing real quick. Okay, places everyone. In a minute! Do I have to do everything myself? You can't do it all by yourself.
I'd say that.
Sure I can.
No, he can't. And neither can I. So why don't you come on down to BPTV and help us make some of the great community programs you see on this station every day.
Yeah!
I mean, we can help you make your TV show ideas a reality.
It's pretty awesome.
So come on down. I mean, I am pretty good, but I'm sure I could use your help.
What's in the box?
Sports, TV shows.
What's in the box? What's in the box? Come with me. Do you want to know what's in the box? It's you.
This looks like hide and seek, but it's not. Kids often withdraw when their needs aren't being met. It would be easier if they said, I need a little one-on-one time. But it's up to us, their parents, to learn their language. And once you figure it out, you don't really have to say much at all. A thought from